Welcome back to the Racial Draft Podcast. I am your regular host, Michael Ford. Not joined by my unofficial co-host, Marquis, but I have a lovely group of guests. Everyone introduce yourselves. We can start with the co-captain of the Jewish delegation, Annie.
Hi there, guys. My name is Annie, aka Fangirl Smash on the Twitter streets. I'm lifelong nerd, started reading comics when I was 8 because of my mom, former techie, former DJ, and I'm here to talk about Team Israelites picks, and I'm here to shoot the crap about comics.
All right. And we're also joined by the captain of the multiracial delegation, Frankia.
Hi guys, I'm back. I have a Instagram handle at KiaBism, and I think that's my Instagram handle. But I'm back, and go multiracial team. Woo!
And we're
blowing you a kiss.
And we're also joined by our official artist of the racial draft, Eli Johnson, the work of art himself. Eli, say a few things.
Hey, it's Eli K. Atlas, currently, just representing the artists of the group. Looking forward to what's going to get underway this week. Also, quick plug, make sure you guys support and pledge to the Kickstarter for Shaka. I'm the artist for the limited edition series. We've got a campaign going. We're over 60% funded, so any pledges would be appreciated. The book is pretty much all done, so we're just waiting to get out to you guys. So funding is appreciated. All right, let's get into the draft.
Sure. And we'll make sure to put.
Can I ask a quick question?
Real quick, we'll make sure to put your links in the show notes, so anyone who listens and subscribes to the podcast can link right to the Kickstarter.
Awesome.
Annie, what did you have to say? Sorry.
I just wanted to hear Eli repeat the name of the Quickstarter a couple times so people get it, so they'll back it.
Right. It's the campaign is just called Shaka, and it's for the first issue. It's a 10-episode limited series, and it's currently 60% funded. We have about 18 or 17 days left on the campaign, but it's going really well. So we're just looking for a lot of pledges. We got some awesome rewards, and Shaka on Kickstarter by Warren Duncan.
Cool.
All right.
And before we jump into the racial draft, I think it's important to just kind of say a few words in support of all the protests that are happening right now across the country. We're making some great gains. I feel like we're moving the conversation forward. And, here at the Racial Draft Podcast, we are in full support of the objectives and full support of justice for George Floyd, for Breonna Taylor, for Aubrey, and pretty much the names are too numerous to run off, and they seem to be being added to on a daily basis. And that's kind of why these protests are happening, because the need for them continues to persist. So obviously this is a little bit of a respite. This is a little bit of an opportunity to find levity and self-care in the things that we love, in the nerdery that we enjoy. But our hearts are still out there in support for everyone that's taken to the streets, in support of justice and in support of changing the way that policing is done. And if anyone else has anything to add, please do so.
I do.
Okay.
As the sole white person guesting on the podcast, all I wanted to say is support Black Jews. Black Jews have been super invisible in all of this, and the central tenet of Judaism as a people and originally as a faith is justice. Justice shall you always pursue. And that's all I'm going to say.
Well said.
Amazing.
Wonderful.
Wonderful. Yeah. Beautiful.
Well, I guess on that note, we'll try to dive into the racial draft. We had an eventful round 5. It's great to be joined by 2 of the captains, because we're not even halfway through, and it feels like it's been a wild ride up to this point. Without talking about your own picks, what have been some of the highlights of round 5 for you guys? Annie?
Native Hulk. That just blew it out of the water. I know
That
that
was amazing.
I know that Native Hulk, I know that the Hulk is a mascot in Native Twitter and amongst Native Americans in general, just from following all the awesome, nerdy Native accounts on Twitter, like A Tribe Called Geek, Johnny J, the Indigenous Comic Con. So Native Hulk knocked it out of the ballpark. I was so happy when I saw that.
That's cool. Kia, what about you? What was the big highlight for you?
I was happy that the Latin team got the pick that they wanted.
Oh, that hurts. That hurts. I'm wearing a Black Panther t-shirt.
Black Panther.
Like in shame. But no, I know S has been coveting the pick for a while. And
Yeah.
I would not be surprised if S has mocked up a little mini comic about the new Panther. But
I think I blocked him one round. I just added it to the thing just so he couldn't pick it that round.
I mean,
she couldn't pick that round. I mean,
yeah, that was solid strategy there, the blocking. Eli, as an artist,
Yep.
other than Native Hulk, which one sort of jumped out at you, kind of got your motivation sort of flowing, your inspiration flowing rather?
I kind of got to steal Annie and Frankia's picks because those definitely stole the week, I think. I was kind of surprised that the Latin team picked Black Panther, actually. I would have thought probably like the white delegation would have done something like that. Just because, it's like the opposite.
S has been chomping at the bit on T'Challa for at least three rounds. So, we'll get into it.
It was really a steal. It was really an upset then.
But it was stolen. But it wasn't stolen in an unannounced way. It was
true.
The shot was called.
It would be interesting to see how to flip that artistically to maybe make it less African and maybe more Hispanic or more Latin design-wise.
Yeah,
Because you still want to keep it like Black Panther, but
mm-hmm.
it would be interesting to see what other things we could work into that.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking. Oh, sorry, Annie, go ahead.
I think S had already indicated that that Panther is now indigenous in the Latin context, and she actually already had a nation picked out.
Right. I guess I was going to flesh that out a little bit later, but yeah, there's an indigenous group in South America that I think maybe you might be able to draw on in terms of design elements, and I can sort of pass that along to you when we get to it.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. But that's the last pick of round 5. We want to get started with the first pick of round 5. And we are blessed enough to have the captain of that delegation, the multiracial team, who drafted powerhouse Captain Marvel, Carol Danvers. Franchise figure from the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Give us a little bit more about why you made the pick and, some thoughts about where you see the character going with the new background.
I'll be right back real quick, by the way.
All right. Well, I picked it mainly because, one, I couldn't believe that he was even out there that long, to be perfectly honest. I mean, the books are relevant. I think they have a book out right now. I was just like I think from the other podcasts, that I'm here to I may not be well versed on every single character, but I do want to win and I do like points. So I figured in picking Captain Marvel, I would get set points. So I did that.
He's definitely the flagship female character in Marvel. So she's always going to be in every major event. She's probably going to be the first one on deck when it comes to guest appearances.
Sorry.
In other people's books. She's got all these links because she's a longtime Avenger. She's got these friendships. She's got these rivalries. She's going to be in the mix, and being in the mix means more opportunities to score and means high profile. Now, as far as your choice in terms of what what background you were looking for? You know, again, you get to play God a lot when you're the multiracial designation.
Yeah,
Because you can play around with
I can play around, add something little, just so you're like, oh, there's just a spot of this, like I did for a few of my characters and whatnot. But I think this week I made Captain Marvel Black and Asian.
Yes.
Yes, I remember that. Like I was not feeling that great this past week, which is why it took so long for me to actually put in my pick. I was not coherent, whatnot. So I was kind of like, just put in my pick. But yeah, I made her Black and Asian. I thought that would just give it a little spice and take it from, I think that there's an underrepresentation for especially Asian superheroes, and as well as obviously African American ones as well, or just Black in general. So I figured, why not mix them together, throw it out there, and let's see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, I know we talked about this a little bit offline, but because Carol has had that part of her life where she was maybe a little bit more objectified than than she is now.
Growing up in Boston, I believe.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm saying in the arc of her character when she was Ms. Marvel before she was Captain Marvel.
Oh yeah, that's true. We were talking about that as well.
Like revealing costumes, and I think that given the way that Black women and Asian women are often
objectified. Yeah.
I think
completely objectified.
Mm-hmm.
I think that there's an additional layer to that when she makes this transition to Captain Marvel and sort of reasserts herself, that that dynamic would be bolstered by her, those aspects of her background.
Yeah. I have a question.
Go ahead.
Has Ablasian Carol finally beaten Candy Crush? Because she's been playing it since like 2007.
I think she's honestly mastered it.
It's funny that it's only recently, I think I would say in the last 10 years or so, that Carol has really been at the forefront as the female masthead. And that was a really strategic pick. I love that you picked her. Finally.
Yeah.
I honestly thought somebody else was going to take. I thought somebody else was going to take her. Honestly,
I actually was hoping that you would draft her, so I deliberately did not.
Wow.
Oh, thank you. That's like teamwork. That's spiritual teamwork right there.
That was an assist. She threw you an assist.
Yeah.
Of course.
Now, one joke that I kind of made when I think about Carol is that there's sort of actually, and maybe I can get Eli to sort of back me up a little bit about this. Like the way that she's animated often, there's sometimes a little anime element to when she kind of goes into her like binary mode. Like it's almost like a Super Saiyan type deal. I wonder if there's a kind of a way to integrate some of the like Dragon Ball and other kind of anime elements into Carol in terms of like how she uses her power set. It was just something I was thinking about because canonically Carol's a little bit of a nerd, so maybe she's into anime, which I'm not as into anime as other people, but there's a big Black anime following.
I could totally see it.
Go ahead, Annie.
Oh, I was going to say I could totally see Carol loving like Carol and Tuesday, like really lush, relaxing animes. But she's your pick, so go ahead.
I totally agree. Honestly, you took the words right out of my mouth. I was like, yeah, because Mike and I, we have side conversations all the time. We talk about this. So yeah, I was definitely into that when he brought that up initially. I was like, just one day when I write out my whole backstory, you guys just wait.
The key is
I have a geeky observation.
What's your observation?
Oh, I was just going to say that, remember, I remember that Steve Rogers used to write and draw his own comics because Marvel continuity exists inside the continuity of Earth 616. So people forget that about Steve. He actually, so I could see Steve sitting down with Carol and watching anime, maybe.
That would be kind of cool, yeah. And then
That'd be
they're
very
both part of the multiracial team, so
Yeah.
it's a built-in friendship. You've got to, like, that's the thing about your team. I mean, Magneto might be a little bit of an outlier, but between Captain America, Wonder Woman, Carol Danvers, well, I mean, I guess Captain America and Mystique probably kind of go together in terms of X factors, pardon the pun. But you have a lot of, like, a large range of time. You have warriors, you have people with a military backing, but you still have, like, the progressive elements. Thematically, I think your team, actually, wait, I just thought about it. All your people are, like, even including Magneto, have that element of longevity and seeing.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there's
I did that on purpose. Mm-hmm.
Uh-oh.
Exactly what I did on
This
purpose.
does not sound good.
Well,
This does not sound good at all for me.
It would be interesting to see what would happen. I mean, so far, what your team would look like if they were all having coffee together. What that powwow would sort of be like.
Definitely.
That sounds like something that needs illustrating, actually.
There we go.
I won't stop you.
I'm just saying, I got some ideas going.
I think the whole point of you being on, Eli, was that we could continue to beg you for commissions and get you to draw our characters.
It's all about inspiring Eli to put together some artwork that we'll share liberally around our socials. But let's transition to the second pick, which is everyone's, well, a lot of people's favorite, the Native Hulk.
Yes.
Yes.
I probably need to pull up the backstory for Native Hulk to give it its justice.
I remember it.
Oh, you're just gonna.
Yeah. You do. You actually. Okay, go tell us.
Go for it.
To the best of my recollection, well, no, really, I don't want to dishonor it. Michael, let's let Michael pull it up.
Here we go. I've got it.
Do you have the whole thing, Michael?
I let me have it. Let me have some water, so I can really get into it.
Yeah.
I remember that there's a code talker in the family,
yes.
A Navajo code talker, which is one of the most awesome things. Oh, check out my mug.
Oh, cool.
Oh, nice.
Kia will understand why it's cool.
Podcast land. Those of you in podcast land can't see it.
I have a water bottle.
But all right. So this is the backstory of the Hulk, the second pick in the 5th round by the Native American delegation. His name is Eddie Bruce Foster, a Navajo from northern Arizona. He works on a railroad yard to pay his way through college in the 1940s. He excels in his classes at the University of New Mexico and becomes a physicist and an expert in chemical engineering. He partakes in the Manhattan Project, headed by Howard Stark and General Thunderbolt Ross of the Army Corps of Engineers. Eddie gains favor of those two. And one night, while taking readings, a Japanese spy sabotages a nuclear reactor. Foster does what he can to evacuate everyone. He finds the spy who rigged the nuclear plant. He chases him through a hangar, only to have the blast doors shut on him. The underground base explodes in a green mushroom cloud. 2 days have gone by, and no one dares enter Ground Zero. Out of the ashes emerges a huge green being, saturated with radiation. A huge roar silences the winds. He jumps and bounds with great length to return to the reservation. It is there he hides and returns to normal. His cousin becomes one of the code talkers. Eddie finds out months later that his cousin was killed in the war. It is upon this news that Eddie makes his way to Japan, crushing all the enemies that took his relative. The U.S. Marines see this huge green creature tearing apart the front lines, and the U.S. government decides or wants to make him a weapon for their agenda, seeing the potential to make the states an even bigger superpower. Eddie, realizing this, disappears, wandering and wandering until the day he's made angry. What's funny is as I read this, the theme song of the old Incredible Hulk TV show, the Lonely Man Walk, just kind of kicked in the back of my head. So kudos to Joaquin for really getting cinematic with the story.
It sounds really
Joaquin,
good.
what can I just say that Joaquin knocked it out of the ballpark on this? He knocked it into the Kuiper belt, like into the outer solar system. Also, I love that Native Hulk is named Eddie, which is like a shout out to the Edward Norton film.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm wondering if that might have been deliberate, and also just the thematic backstory kind of frames the continuity also of that Ed Norton film with Bruce disappearing at the very end. And I love that there's a code talker in the family. I just think that that's amazing.
Yeah. What about Kia?
Honestly, I always enjoy Joaquin's stories and everything else like that. And I like the detail that he always puts into it.
Mhm.
I mean, I thought, killing all the Japanese people might have been a little extra. But and I know Joaquin personally, so I know he was stationed in Japan, so I don't know if it's like an actual thing. I don't know. But
They always say write what you know. So
yeah, so I'm like I don't know. But I mean, aside from that, it was great. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah. And canonically the Hulk is immortal at this point, and he even has the Immortal Hulk book. So theoretically, he could have been wandering for the last 50 years, kind of doing that Hulk television show thing, and kind of come back into the superhero fray in the modern era alongside the Avengers. And there's room for his backstory to support kind of existing Hulk continuity and the relationships that we sort of know and appreciate. I mean, again, high recommend to the Immortal Hulk book that's out right now. It's a horror based book, and it's not necessarily for the faint of heart, but if you want sort of deep psychological storytelling, that's the book for you. And I'd be interesting when I have Joaquin on. I'll talk about kind of the psychological underpinnings of his Hulk and whether he's sort of still dealing with the traumas that
think about it. First of all, he's Navajo, so he's colonized. He comes from a deeply marginalized community that's now being racked by COVID, by the way. And I think that there's so much storytelling potential that's going to come out of that at the intersections of atomic mutation, as well as being Native, as well as being Navajo. That there's so much heaviness, but also so much fraughtness of story potential there. I'm dying to talk to Joaquin. I can't wait to hear his voice.
Actually, now that I really think about it, I don't know if the Hulk would have been good for any other team. Now that he has it, I kind of feel like that was just really the perfect fit.
I almost drafted him.
Well,
yeah, I
could see that, but I don't know. I guess maybe because he just did so well, with the backstory and everything. I don't know, just it fits. And I also did he make the picture that he put in? Was that a picture that you found, Mike?
No, he found that picture.
Or you found that picture? Yeah, where he had he was dressed in Native American garb.
He's in regalia. He's in dancing regalia, formal regalia, which is that's really deep stuff. I'm not the person to explain. He's the person to explain. But I've seen that meme before all over Native Twitter, all over. So I was screamed in happiness when I saw it. I was like, yes.
Yeah, that was actually the first time that I saw that meme. So I was happy, that he kind of made it easy for me to put the two ideas together.
Plus, visually, it just looks incredible. It just looks incredible.
That picture is really nice.
It really does. I wouldn't even try to reillustrate that. That was actually
cool. I was like, I don't think we need you, Eli, for that one.
They got me on that one.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, Annie, I know when I was brainstorming characters with different backgrounds before we got into the draft, one of the things that I was thinking about was sort of Banner being kind of coded as Jewish, in terms of kind of,
Very much.
you know, the stereotyping and the 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 aspects of like physicality that generally aren't associated with Jewishness, and the rage that might, you know, that might be a manifestation of that imbalance, you know.
Oh, I have a lot to say about that. I think that I almost drafted Bruce Banner because, and I'm going to say this in a larger context outside of comics, Jewish rage and Jewish anger is not something that's palatable to American people and to people pretty much around the world with Jewish communities outside of Israel. There is, if you think about it, there are very few acceptable pop culture manifestations of primal rage. And because Jews historically, particularly in the European context, have been marginalized into certain professions, that's where we get Jews really active in education and in the arts, becoming physicists, things like that. And that is more of an Ashkenazi thing, meaning European Jews. Ashkenazim are European Jews of European descent, meaning that they have European, if I can say it bluntly, probably due to sexual violence. That's how Jews got white skin in Europe. And there are, of course, other theories as well. But Jews have often been stereotyped as nerdy professors and physicists and astronomers, of course, Albert Einstein. And so I deliberately was playing with the idea of what would it be like to have a Jewish character just explode with rage.
Right. And that's actually a good transition to the next pick, which is Amadeus Cho, because I know that a lot of in the original incarnation of Amadeus Cho, as a Korean American, there were a lot of writers. I should have prepped this before the show, guys. I apologize, but there were a lot of Asian American writers who talked about similar issues with regard to their ability to manifest rage and how important Amadeus Cho was as a character who could be a Hulk during that period of time when Amadeus Cho was a Hulk.
Is there, to be fair though, is there any marginalized group in the United States right now where the larger systems that we live in accept palatable explosions of rage? Like, our rage is so confined and policed by the larger society that we live in. We live, you know, under white supremacy in the United States, at least. So
that's true. I mean, but I do think
very good point.
That's very true.
I think that when Black people talk about the Hulk, we talk about the fact that it kind of, because of the stereotypes about us, it doesn't really fit. Like, you know, that the rage that is justifiable about our experience, it's almost like we're not viewed as Banner, we're viewed as the Hulk all the time, you know. So for us, it's hard for us to associate or be associated with the Banner aspect, whereas I can understand feeling like, as a group, that society's telling you to be a Banner when there's a Hulk that you want to let out, you know. So I think that's where the dissonance. I think that's where the dissonance comes in. As far
absolutely,
as
I totally agreed. I mean, just as a white person, having been exposed to all of those studies over the years about how white people perceive Black people as inherently stronger. I mean, all those, you know, obnoxious studies that have been done that basically show that white people have a lot of work to do. We have a lot of work to do in not policing absolutely justified explosions of rage and anger, but also in not perceiving and in really unpacking our stereotypes and our deepest levels of socialization about perceiving Black people as aggressive. So I totally understand why he might have been now perhaps a really fraught and problematic pick for the Black team.
Right. But, you know, Team Polynesia, went for it. They said there are no problematic aspects to us having a Hulk, and I'm gonna go ahead because Tamati, the captain of Team Polynesia, went in for he'd have guys. Again, my apologies. There was a really long version of the backstory for Amadeus show that had to be cut down for time. I'm gonna do my best to embellish as best as possible, but let me get you to it. Amadeus, Team Polynesia.
I'm just over here mouthing silently, "Rock Me, Amadeus."
Okay.
Child of the 80s.
No, I get it. I know that song. So in this imagining, Amadeus
Understood that reference.
Yeah. All right, Steve Rogers.
All right, Cap. We hear you.
In this reimagining, Amadeus CO is an Oakland-born Samoan genius. He's a third-generation American Samoan born and raised in Oakland. He was given the name Amadeus by his mother, who was fascinated by the life and talents of Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. Amadeus displayed prodigious intellectual capabilities from a young age. His priest remarked, "His intelligence is a gift from God. It is supernatural what he is able to do. He will do remarkable things once he finds his path." He is described as being gifted with a super genius mind, bearing the natural ability to identify the variables and quantum possibilities in any situation, a living and breathing supercomputer. Amadeus comes to the attention of S.H.I.E.L.D., who stage a young genius competition. The test was created by Reed Richards and Hank Pym to discover hidden geniuses. Encouraged by his parents to enter, he does and tests off the charts. At his full intellectual capacity, Amadeus is able to rapidly and without mechanical aid perform mental calculations of almost unimaginable complexity, enabling him to, with minimal stimuli on his part, set multiple physical reactions into motion in his vicinity, forestalling technical and human activity with equal ease. At the age of 18, he is described by Reed Richards as being the 7th most intelligent person in the world. Eventually, he would become a member of a team that includes Namor, Blue Marvel, Storm, and Scarlet Witch. He is being mentored by Blue Marvel to be a future leader of the team. So there were a couple elements that were trimmed down, and one of them, which is common to the Amadeus of the comics, is the kinship that Amadeus has with the Hulk. He considers, even though the Hulk is a misunderstood figure, he sees the Hulk as an unabashed hero, and they form a bond that later leads to Amadeus taking the gamma radiation away from Banner, curing him, but giving himself the quote unquote curse, and he finds a way to manage it as as the comics would call him, the totally awesome Hulk. I actually I know that there were some people who weren't huge fans of the arc, but I thought the arc was interesting because it took the element of anger and played with it a little bit, and it tied it into kind of teenage hormones and sense of invincibility. He had figured out how not to fall victim to rage, but he eventually sort of fell victim to his own exuberance. He sort of started engaging in risky behavior because he knew that he was a Hulk, and he sort of started going awry based on that. Now, as the way the story ends up, Amadeus still has some remnant of gamma radiation. He's now a hero called Brawn, and he has to kind of balance the gamma monster, so to speak, within him while still trying to grow up and be a good guy. He's a character with immense potential. I hope he finally makes his way into the movies and MCU. I think he's in Champions, and he's in the Agents of Atlas right now. There's a lot of potential with the character, and from my take, he was a great pick, and probably a coup that the Asian contingent is licking their wounds at losing one of their big guns.
I think it was an inspired pick.
Yeah.
By Team Polynesia.
Oh, and I should have mentioned, Team Polynesia often comes through with a fan casting, And their fan casting for this role was Samoan actor KJ Alpa from Riverdale.
Yes.
I've not seen Riverdale, but the picture that he included, guys, you need to check that out on social media. I could see it. I could see him playing an Amadeus Seal.
I really like that. You know, my first recollection of Amadeus Cho was him riding on the back of Shulky's scooter.
Mm. Yeah.
And She-Hulk sassing him, Jen sassing him when he got too uppity with her.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about the Hulk family. You know, as it stands right now, there are 3 Hulks on different teams. But you know, it's a little bit of a gamma family right now. You have your She-Hulk is just on your team. We never got a chance to get a little bit of more fleshing out of the She-Hulk backstory. So I'll give you the floor and let you fill out the Jen Walters backstory, if you will.
I think that you know, it's well, of course, you would ask about the character that I'm still really ruminating on the backstory for. I think of Jen as probably growing up in a Reform Jewish household in Los Angeles and becoming a Los Angeles attorney, probably deeply interested in civil rights given her arc in the comics and given that she grew up in a liberal area of Los Angeles. I would still keep those elements in her backstory. I would also continue to have her, per her original origin, get her master's degree in law from Harvard, although that seems to fluctuate back and forth. Continuity sometimes isn't really clear on Jen's education in addition to her law degree. I definitely think it's absolutely in line for her to argue against the Mutant Registration Act, which was, she argued against the Supreme Court. She argued it in front of the Supreme Court against the Mutant Registration Act. And in the middle, of course, Titania called her out onto the streets for an epic battle. But nonetheless, that is a very core Jewish value, is to, particularly with understanding where mutants come from and probably understanding the larger Jewish experience from the outside, you can easily see why Jen could be Jewish. She is.
Can I interject real quick? Because you were
of course.
Because you were talking about things that she argued in favor of.
No, against.
I'm sorry, against. Do you remember whether she was for? Do you remember which side she was in terms of registration in Civil War?
She was anti-registration. No, I'm sorry. She was pro-registration at first, and then, to the best of my recollection, she later regretted that.
Okay.
And she had strong words with Tony about it in her own book when Peter David was writing the book. Mm-hmm. And then that segged directly, if I recall correctly, into World War Hulk.
Got it. No, because I think it makes sense for her character to be pro-registration just because of the legal aspects of registration, because it didn't have the same stigma that mutant registration had.
Disagree.
Oh, okay.
I think it was almost a terminal degradation of her character. Wow. To have her be pro-registration, because particularly if she's Jewish, because the letter of the law actually doesn't mean anything if people are being oppressed, and a Jewish Jen is going to be out in the streets defending the most marginalized people she can find as a lawyer. I kind of had Jen set up to be probably a civil rights attorney.
Okay.
Before she got into, and remember that Jen is comfortable with all different facets of the law. She's practiced in a wide variety of ways before she, obviously when Dan Slott wrote her book, she turned to focusing on superhero law for a while. And then also she was recruited by the Living Tribunal, which is dispensing justice throughout the galaxy. And again, going back to that central Jewish tenet of always pursuing justice, always protecting lives. There's a Jewish value called, and I'm going to mangle the pronunciation, but pikuach nefesh, which means to protect life at all costs. In the real world, it means protect human life at all costs, protect life at all costs. But in the superhero universe, Jen would probably expand that philosophy to the entire universe. Protect life at all costs, protect people from harm.
Right. Well, I see that. I guess I was thinking more along the lines of what the Registration Act was intended to do, rather than
going back to that.
Right, that the idea of almost like gun control for superheroes, that if it's pitched in that way, not as a way of marginalizing people, but as a way of keeping people safe, that I could see her being in favor of it as a regulation rather than a form of creating a status-based hierarchy. And
when has Jennifer Walters ever followed the law in her superhero career outside of being a lawyer?
I mean that's a fair counterpoint.
I'll also say this, that going back to the original Civil War, at the time reading that original story arc, I was on a community called Scans Daily, which was a comics discussion community that was at one point probably 5,000 or 6,000 people strong, on a platform called Live Journal. And we would post scans of upcoming previews and scans of interior pages, and we would discuss current events in the larger context of the Marvel universe and the DC universe. And when the Civil War storyline rolled around, again, there were so many of us that felt so strongly that Jen was depicted on the wrong side of that debate, that she would definitely not be in favor of registering people, especially a Jewish Jennifer, because you're going right back to the Third Reich, the racialization of Jews, the history of of anti-Semitism in Europe, around the world, etc. So a lot of us felt that was, and I literally use the words, a terminal degradation of her character, being pro-registration.
I can see that. I mean, I definitely can.
Yeah.
And I do think that it was a redemption that she ended up sort of going against it by the end of the story.
Yes. Yeah.
We are joined by a special guest, and we are on his pick, Tamati.
Tamati!
Where are you, Tamati?
Hey!
Where is he? I can't see him.
Yeah, sorry guys, my camera is not working properly.
I've been working on it, Tamati.
Wait, is he? Can we see him? Because
you
I
hear?
literally cannot see him.
Oh no, I can't.
Tamati,
Can you guys keep talking? I've just got to sort my camera.
Okay. We're talking about the various Hulk family members. We're on the Amadeus pick. So I can allow Annie to vamp a little bit. How would you see the relationship of your She-Hulk to both the native Hulk and the Polynesian Amadeus Hulk?
Well, she's going to find common ground with them immediately. Natives, indigenous people are the most marginalized literally in the world. So she's going to find common ground, I think, with Native Hulk really quickly. If he gets into trouble, she's going to want to defend him in court. I see her, also a Jewish Jen has an obligation, literally living on stolen land, to defend the rights of indigenous people. So she's going to be really involved with indigenous law and supporting indigenous causes as much as she can. That's her obligation. She's a guest in this land. She's a guest in North America. I remind my fellow Jews of that often, and we remind each other a lot. We are guests in this land.
Okay. Tamati, do you have thoughts about how Amadeus would be interacting with She-Hulk?
Oh, yeah, I have thoughts, but go on.
Actually, I probably had more thoughts about how Amadeus would interact with the native Hulk.
Native Hulk? Yeah. Well, tell us about his interaction with Native Hulk.
Yeah, so I guess firstly, apologies for the very long backstory. I think I created a new rule.
I apologized for advocating too strongly to trim the backstory. So we're meeting somewhere in the middle, I think.
But you know
I
what it
just
was?
say that all of the Hulks that have been picked so far have amazing backstories. The Jewish Hulk,
Right.
the Native Hulk, all of them. They all have amazing backstories.
Thank
Oh,
you, thank you,
thank you,
thank
thank
you.
you.
You know, Tamati and I didn't plan on having. Oh my God, I just bungled your name. I'm so sorry, brother.
It's okay.
We didn't plan in advance on drafting Hulks, but it's a really happy coincidence that it happened.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, my backstory was inspired by seeing Joaquin and his fantastic backstories as well. I kind of had these stories in my mind, but then when I saw the level of detail that Joaquin had, I thought, wow, I've got to step my game up.
Yeah.
And so I think it was a bit of an overcompensation in a way with having the very long backstory.
Yeah, Joaquin creates a movie, and
He does.
you want to see it play out on the big screen, and then it sort of turns you into a filmmaker of your own. I understand.
Yeah.
Joaquin is very cinematic. He gives us stories that are literally fully fleshed out that could be adopted into a TV series on Netflix right now.
Yeah, it's true.
Absolutely. I was thinking about actually just off the top of my head with Jennifer, purely, and I think this is probably a connection through philosophy and cause. I think Annie and I've had a back and forth about a whole lot of different things around Judaism, even and colonialism and all that. And so I think there's a natural synergy there between Amadeus, or probably my whole team that I've selected, and Jennifer. Of course, and then there is the Gamma connection as well. So I think if I had to think harder about it, there'd probably be, we could probably interweave a story as well. But I mean, just right off the bat, there is definitely a shared energy there as far as philosophies and things like that. So
Also coming from colonized peoples, deeply colonized peoples. Yeah. I mean, everyone who's not on Team White comes from colonized peoples, but in particular, I think they would have a lot of conversations about colonization. And go on, I interrupted.
No, I mean that's really what I wanted to say with that. And with the Native Hulk, I think again, Joaquin's stories, and I guess the stories that I create for the characters, there is so much shared, I guess, history, and it comes from a history of trauma and colonization as well. So if you have a look at a lot of the backstories that I provided, and also the about lineage and connection to the gods.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, something that it's kind of pretty common across most, if not all, Indigenous cultures, and so it made sense that a lot of our stories paralleled each other, right into the current day, about some of the situations and events that he described with many of his characters. Could very easily have been how I would have described some of the characters I've selected. And you may have seen that I've probably taken a few digs here and there on the different chats about Namor. Namor being one of the contents about, you can guarantee, I mean, if that Namor would be watching very carefully as to who is being selected, because he thinks, I've got an ally there. Right. And I think there's a natural alliance between certain teams, and I mean, Joaquin is one of them, of course, with Annie as well. And so there are individuals that are being selected in other teams that I thought, here's something I thought about this morning, actually, around creating a new Invaders team.
Yeah. Oh, well, it's funny.
But we'll leave that. We'll park that for now.
Well, it's funny you mentioned the Invaders, because I was thinking about, as you were talking, I was thinking about the Defenders. Because right now you've got, there's a Hulk, there's a Namor, there's Doctor Strange. I mean, we're very close to kind of recasting the Invader. I mean, the Defenders. I don't have a lot of experience with the Invaders. They were a team way before my time, and I haven't read the most recent Invaders run. But
Actually, I mean, I've kind of stolen the name because it would be kind of a combination of the old Defenders team, but let's call them the Invaders. Let's flip it on its head, with as far as
I see.
You see what I'm saying? It's a bit of a play on words. So
Gotcha.
yeah, I thought about it this morning, but
yeah, I mean, I'm curious to see how that backstory gets fleshed out then. So I guess we should keep moving. I mean, you're here. You're gonna, you can offer your perspectives. Actually, since you are here, not counting your pick, what was your favorite pick of the round?
Oh, I would have to say my favorite pick was I liked
No pressure.
No pressure.
I like the Kamala Khan pick.
Oh,
no pressure.
All right, perfect transition then. Kamala Khan was the pick. That was the Asian delegation's pick, which a little bit of a defensive pick. I think they were still licking their wounds from losing Amadeus, and they felt like, hey, listen, we're going to lose one of our mainstays. We need to make sure we don't lose another one of our mainstays. And they came in. Kamala Khan is she's one of the top tier Marvel characters right now, created over in the past decade. She's Pakistani American, very important to the brand, and I mean, Ms. Marvel, who doesn't love her? She's probably the new this generation Spider-Man, and I'm sure the Asian delegation.
Isn't Miles Morales this generation Spider-Man?
That's what I thought.
I mean, okay, fine. I mean, but he's the continuation of Spider-Man. He's the Spider-Man legacy character. I guess I'm thinking of like the non-Spider-Man character that is the Spider-Man of this generation. But I mean, maybe they share the role. Maybe Kamala and Miles are both this generation's Spider-Man.
I agree. I was just going to offer that up as a solution.
Yeah. But, as far as new characters are concerned, Miles, I would say Miles and Kamala are the big two in terms of this generation's, this generation's youthful trinity. There's still, I personally think there's still some work to be done to create a third member of their trinity, but it's definitely Miles and Kamala as 1 and 1A for the younger generation, the Gen Z characters. And there's not a lot to be said in terms of backstory. We all know her story. She's going to get a Disney Plus series in the next little bit. She's all
about time.
Yeah, she's all over the cartoons. She's all over the comics. She's going to play a major role in this Outlawed event that's supposed to be happening with Marvel. She's the leader of the Champions, former Avenger. She's a great character, and it was a great pick.
Can I interject something? I have a hope for who will complete that young trinity, and I hope it's Snowguard.
I mean, that would be great. I always wonder about created character, like a character that a singular creator comes up with, because I wonder whether the company as a whole are behind it, and whether the creator is comfortable with lending the character out to other creators to be used in multiple books, because it really kind of takes that, unless you're the creator that's writing the bulk of the books like Bendis did, it usually takes the understanding that it's okay to let that character flourish in multiple avenues.
I really hope it is. I don't think she's quite positioned there now yet, but I think it's high time that a young teenage Indigenous character was given way more visibility, and I hope she hangs out with Miles and Kamala more. That was my point.
No, I mean, I think that right now, I think Riri is pretty close. I think.
Oh, agree.
Yeah, I mean, I think that
Definitely.
Ewing is doing
Been around longer too.
Yeah, I think Eve Ewing is doing wonders right now with Riri in that book, and I think that there have been rumors that she's going to get a Disney Plus series, and that can only hype up her visibility. So, I mean, I know that a lot of people love Sam Alexander, but he also has his detractors. I could see Riri Williams kind of stepping into that spot in the young Trinity, especially with someone like Eve at the helm.
Yes, agree. Hard agree.
Yeah, and that brings us to your pick, Annie.
Oh no.
I'll let the people know. Monica Rambeau has been accepted into the tribe, and give us your telling of her backstory.
Of course. And I'm going to be tweaking.
Okay.
I'm going to be tweaking more Jewish character backstories, but of course, that's the whole point of the project. I wanted to give representation to Black Jews who have historically been invisible in the American superhero context. I don't even think that most Americans know that Black Jews exist. There have always been Black Jews since the very coalescence of the Semitic people and into the kingdom of Judea and into Jews, into the Israelites and the Hebrews. But I also wanted to talk about Beta Israel, who are the Ethiopian Jews that were airlifted starting in the late 70s, 80s, and into the early 90s from Ethiopia into Israel. This is a community of Jews that were isolated for over a millennium from other mainstream Judaism. So, for example, they were not, they lost themselves, they emigrated south at a time before even rabbinical tradition existed. So they did not have a rabbinical tradition, for example. So, and if just a really short encapsulated history, if you don't know, Ethiopian Jews have been around for thousands of years. During the civil war in Sudan, to the best of my recollection, and given the increasing political instability, the rabbis in Israel decided that yes, they should airlift them out. So along with the governments of Sudan and the United States, most of the House of Beta Israel were airlifted into Israel, where they wound up suffering a lot of discrimination, but that's another story. I then wanted to have her be from that community. These are an ancient Jewish community that are highly valued. I mean, there's speculation that they were the lost tribe of Dan, which I kind of went with. And when I decided that she would be from that community, when she would be from Beta Israel, I know that that would, of course, come fraught with a lot of complications in the American context. So I wanted to keep her continuity once she arrived in the United States, very similar to what she was before in the comics.
Yes. And
happy to talk more and entertain questions. And also you saw that I fan cast a gorgeous Ethiopian actress and activist.
I did. Do you have her name handy? I missed it.
I'm going to mispronounce it, but I think it's Meren Getnet.
Okay.
Meren Getnet.
And
And please forgive the mispronunciation. I really tried to find phonetic pronunciations of her name. I've been a fan of her work for a really long time.
Yeah, and that's linked in our socials. Obviously, guys, you need to be following Racial Draft Pod on Twitter or on Facebook, or actually, I guess it's Racial Draft on Facebook and Racial Draft on Instagram. We've got we've got a ton of information there. We've got pictures, and we don't get nearly as much interaction on those socials as we get on Twitter. But we'd love if you guys started playing around on those platforms as well. And
I always hype up the Instagram account. What are you talking about?
I'm talking about non-captains.
If I could
Um,
say a couple more words about Monica, I deliberately wanted to keep her New Orleans origin because I really pictured Monica's parents coming to the United States and deliberately picking a city with a strong Black presence. And then it was also really diverse, just, like a Middle Eastern caravan, centuries ago in terms of diversity. New Orleans is so diverse and so incredibly beautiful. So I still wanted to keep her connection to Black communities in New Orleans really strong and tangible. I didn't want to take that away, obviously.
and one
And
thing
again,
that,
Black Jews have always existed. It's high time that Americans understood that.
and one thing I wanted to highlight is that there's been a lot of talk in various entertainment platforms about Black love and how there are very few depictions of Black love. In the mainstream Marvel universe, there's a romance between Monica and Adam Brashear and Blue Marvel. Obviously, Adam Brashear has been drafted to the Polynesian team. But
Monica now has a Maori boyfriend. All right.
right,
Hell yeah.
So I mean, let's talk about it. Let's talk about is Blue Marvel still interested in Monica?
Why wouldn't he be?
Okay.
There
I
you
just
go.
wanted you
Of course,
on
of
the
course.
record. I wanted you on the record to say they're still an item.
Yeah, and actually, I mean, when you brought that up, it also made me think about some of my other picks and some of the relationships that they have had in the comic books as well, right? So between Storm and T'Challa, and so yeah, how that would kind of work itself out as well. I mean, yeah, I think actually I just want to double back on something Annie was talking about, and it's something that's been playing on my mind as being one of the only non-American person making picks, is that one of the really tricky things for me was because I mean all the characters, most of the comics have quite an American-centric view.
Mm-hmm.
It's all based in the US, right? And so how do I make Polynesian picks that tie back in to storylines that are very American-centric? And so you may have noted that in the last couple of picks, I've tried to make them explicitly US-based.
Right.
So even with Amadeus as well. So I made him he's born in Oakland,
Mm-hmm.
right? Part of the Samoan community there. So
Which is right next to me, by the way.
Of course. And so, yeah, I had to think a little bit harder about that, just about thinking, okay, so if we're thinking about the Polynesian diaspora, where have they located themselves in the US? And, California, there's a lot of Polynesians in California, of course, Hawaii as well, but wanted to kind of make it a little bit more mainland. So California and places like Utah as well. And so I have had to think a little bit harder about that as well. I mean, considering, like I said, otherwise, I have had my first couple of picks were based in Polynesia in the Pacific. And they have, I didn't go into it in detail on their backstories, but they've had to have a tie-in as well. So I just kind of wanted to touch on that because Andy talking about locating Monica in New Orleans. And that made a whole lot of sense. So yeah, just trying to make it make sense as well as far as the picks I've got.
Cool.
Well, Monica knows how to make bomb-ass Ethiopian food now, so come on over for dinner. Adam's invited for dinner.
I feel like this is a perfect timing. We've been joined by yet another special guest, Sean Martineau of the White Delegation. Sean, say hi to everybody.
Oh, I'm actually here.
You are
Hi.
actually here.
I thought I was just gonna be in like a chat room or something.
No, you're here. Say a couple words because we're ready for your pick. Actually, we just finished the Jewish delegation's pick. We were talking about Monica, and do you have anything to add about Monica? Your opinions of the pick, and your thoughts as far as like interactions with some of the characters that you drafted.
I don't know if she had. Does she have interactions with anybody drafted? It doesn't matter. I think it's a great pick. It's my pick of the. It's my pick of the week.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
You know, it was respectful. She's still black. She's now Jewish. It adds a new level to the character. You know, it's the exact opposite of everything I would have done. So I really liked it.
Oh no. I'm so glad I drafted her then. You are not getting a hold of her.
Listen, Sean,
No way.
Sean is the official villain of this
He
league.
is.
And I'm
Sean
glad
is
that
a
he's owning
chaos agent.
I am glad he's owning it.
Oh
He's
my
leaning into it now. Yeah, he's leaning into it now.
Here,
Tell us
show
what
your
your
face.
plans were. Tell us what your plans were for Amadeus' show. Since we're here, now.
Okay, so I just wanted. Okay, so Amadeus' show at one point was the totally awesome Hulk, and I was like, what a totally white idea. Even though it wasn't. It was Greg Pak, and so it wasn't. But I was just like, I could twist that so easily. So I was gonna wait until somebody made like a native Bruce Banner. And then I was going to be like, now here's this white kid that thinks he can come in and do it better. Amadeus show's on my side. And there's going to be like one of the few characters of his representation that are actually going to appear that month. So like I've been trying to get people that have at least one appearance for the group I've been going after or was going after. I'm changing my tactics.
Oh, I mean, do you feel like disclosing for everyone what your the change in tactic, or are you keeping close to
I'm targeting the players now.
You're targeting the what?
The players.
How so?
Players in
What?
yeah. What kind of like are they like sleeping around players or like
No. Like the players of the game. I'm gonna go after their legacies.
Oh no, now you're going at people. Wow. Watch your
So it's like my picks will now be in direct response to picks that other people have made.
Wow. Be aware.
Nice.
Listen, all
Well,
you
that's
captains, all
that's
you
been my
captains-
whole strategy the whole time. Sorry to interrupt, Michael, but that's been my whole strategy the whole time.
Now this is why captains need to be listening to the podcast, because you've got be aware. Sean is coming for you.
Y'all gave me Alex Wilder.
That is right. Tell us about Alex Wilder. Do Alex Wilder justice.
Do Alex Wilder justice? I mean, a character worth doing justice for. I love Alex Wilder. He's the original shit rat of the Runaways.
That is true.
But I wanted everybody else on that list. I had like backstories for everybody else going into that poll.
It's funny,
yes, Alex. I'll add Alex to the list for a fourth pick.
So it's funny. Let me jump in real quick, because like I remember a few, maybe about at this point a year back, we were talking about Miles Morales and how he needs his own rogues gallery, and someone mentioned Alex Wilder as a potential arch nemesis for Miles. Sort of based on his personality and based on the things that motivate him. And I could definitely see Wilder and Miles kind of not seeing eye to eye and definitely going at it. We're fingers crossed that Miles ends up in good place, but
See, the reason Alex was the one I picked for the fourth player is because Alex Wilder has a class privilege. Yeah. That's why I don't think so much changes when I change him white, He has a privilege of money, and that overpowers a lot of other things.
Yeah, especially because
if he was to go up against Miles, it would be interesting to see maybe some class warfare in their storyline.
Right, and you never got the sense with Alex that he was aware of his privilege, his class privilege. He has all these friends that are in the upper crust of California, and I think that the television show, The Runaways, did a better job of giving Alex that interplay with the aspects of the Black community in California in a way that the books never did. So it made him a more sympathetic figure. But as far as the comics go, it's really hard to cast Alex in a sympathetic light, So as a Black person, I'm not captain of the Black delegation, but of the people that the Black comic fans have lost, Alex is probably the one that I'm least hurt about. But no,
So
go on.
basically what you're saying, Michael, is we didn't really want Alex anyway, so they can have him.
Yeah.
That's what I was getting from it.
You let Alex
Yeah.
go.
I'm not going to say too much because I think I've taken two Black characters that probably hurt a little bit.
Oh, hurt a lot. Still sore. It's still sore.
Reopening old wounds.
I'm still really wounded on behalf of everyone else by the audacity to pick Black Panther. I was just like, wow. Wow, the audacity of that pick, but that was a great pick.
Listen,
Hey, well, at least S telegraphed that pick.
S called her.
Yeah.
S gave us every opportunity to find a way to block it, and that brings us to the Black delegation, who did not use their power to block it. It was right there. They could have drafted T'Challa. Instead, they drafted Invincible. Now, I have to admit, I've never read Invincible. Sean, have you read Invincible?
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but is Invincible over?
It's over.
Yeah, it's over.
So, is it going to be relaunched?
No. I think the Black Delegation's playing a whole different game.
So Invincible is not going to score in our
Any points.
scoring period, right? It's a vanity pick.
Yeah, the thing got me though is I was like, where's the backstory? Was there a backstory that I just didn't see?
No, there was no backstory.
No.
I mean, I haven't read Invincible. I just assume that's the well, those of you who are knowledgeable about Invincible, tell the people and also tell me why Invincible is a cool character.
Has anybody else read
go
it?
for it?
Sean, go ahead.
I dropped off really early in Invincible, and it's literally sitting on my living room table right now to dive back into because of that pick. I'd always meant to go back and reread the whole thing, so I'm actually going to be doing that now because of the pick.
Okay, I've heard really good things about it.
We need to get like Corey Task on the show next time because Invincible is like his favorite character.
Exactly. I mean, he touts it. That's why that's what I'm saying. That's why I think it was a vanity pick. Like he had to get his like favorite character out there. Like now is not the time. Sean, like Sean, you've read Invincible, yes?
Yeah.
So give people
hear the backstory because like one of the big things that happens early on in Invincible, is the revelation. He's a legacy superhero. His father had powers, and now he has powers.
Got it.
And then you find out that his father is actually here to basically enslave the human race for an alien race.
Interesting. Spoilers. Sorry, guys.
Spoilers for 2004.
Invincible. Yeah. It becomes Invincible. That's like the starting point of it. And then it just tackles like every storyline you could ever think of. And it does it so well. I guess like, I don't remember how many issues it actually is. I want to say like 160 plus. It's just like one unified universe of superheroes under the vision of one writer. And it all started with this kid, Mark Grayson.
Right.
It's a really good story, and it never loses sight of him.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like an awesome story, and I think they are planning to adapt it for Amazon. So if we were scoring television series, like that would be points, but we're not. Like, maybe in future seasons we'll think about scoring television series, but right now, Invincible sounds like a cool character that they and people who enjoy the character would enjoy in a race-bent fashion. But yeah, I mean, I'm going to read the story and I'm going to figure out how to re-envision it and remix it, as Eli coined, as a Black character. But knowing what we know was about to happen in the next pick, strategically, it was rough. It was rough. And then that brings us to the 8th pick, which is everyone's favorite, T'Challa, was drafted by the Latinx delegation.
Mm.
Esther gave us a backstory, and I'll do my best to do justice to the backstory. It's El Dorado.
Can I interject one thing
Oh, sure.
while you look it up? I was going to say that She-Hulk has a TV series coming up too.
Yes.
Shulky has her own series.
That could be.
So
fun.
I am all for broadening the scope of the draft to include appearances in television series. But anyway, as you were.
All right. So, short and to the point, which I love. Is El Dorado a man or a land? Why can no one find this kingdom, rich in the world's most sought-after natural resource, despite having the might of Spain itself upon it? What secrets are being kept by their president, the one they call La Pantera Dorada? The Latinx delegation selects its avatar of strength, speed, intelligence, and noble statecraft, the leader of the world's most advanced nation, in the middle of nations decimated by colonialism, this clear voice of justice with the weight of generations on his shoulders, the Black Panther. Now,
Applause.
You know, El Dorado forever, as it were. So there was
that actually does make sense now, though. Like El Dorado being like a hidden place, and then Wakanda being somewhere you can't get to. The parallels are actually really nice.
Yeah,
that was a smart decision.
No, the parallels were definitely there. So I want to shout out to Twitter user Inclination. Back in 2017, there was he thought about El Dorado as a place that could have a similar character to Black Panther, having an El Dorado god, a jaguar or a leopard that would be basically their equivalent of Black Panther. So shout outs to, and he said he could have, you know, he could see El Dorado as technologically advanced with a South American culture, with slightly different views and approaches as Wakanda.
Can I say that this pick actually makes incredible sense to me, because there's also the dual experience of colonization and El Dorado retreating from the world because of ongoing horrific colonization by the Spanish and the Portuguese.
Yeah. So
and I thought about this too as well. I mean, if you take the storyline of the Black Panther movie, right, where you have Killmonger come into Wakanda and basically saying, you know, he wants to take over the throne because of, you know, he basically wants to be a warrior for the third world, you know, fight against the oppressor and things like that. I thought about that as far as like Namor is concerned. Could you imagine the relationship he could an alliance he could possibly have with T'Challa in this form?
Yes.
You know what I mean? I mean, you could see that conversation going down. Like Namor would find his way to El Dorado and say, look, you know, we have a shared enemy here. Look at everything that you have. Look at what I have. I have an army. You have all the resources we could possibly need together. You know, why wouldn't we work together? Which would be an interesting a spin on the relationship they've had in the past, right?
Like, I'd like to believe that their sort of natural, like oil water aspect is that even though they would see the commonalities, there would still be a little bit of a rivalry or a little bit of, because at the end of the day, they're leaders of two nations. And if their nations are ever at odds, they're like, I mean, I think we saw that in the Hickman run. There's a little bit of mutual respect, even though there's that resentment and rivalry. And then, of course, what transpired.
Yeah. It's interesting, though, because I'm kind of, in reference to, put it this way, how other Indigenous peoples talk to each other.
Yeah.
So for Māori being an Indigenous people, I mean, we've achieved so much. We have made certain advances with our culture and stuff like that. So it's not uncommon to have other Indigenous people from other parts of the world come and talk to us, and say we have a shared vision, a shared goal in mind. We see what you've done. Would you help us? Would you form some type of alliance with us? It's not on the scale of, you know, what could be between T'Challa and Namor, but like I said, those relationships actually exist in the real world, and so that drew my mind to that. Now, I mean, I guess it's different when you've got, when that relationship is politicized and you have countries talking to each other on various levels and stuff. So, yeah, so that's kind of why I kind of drew that conclusion, I guess, as far as that development. But all that aside, I mean, it's a fantastic pick. It just feels such like a natural fit.
Yeah, and you could tell that S did a lot of put a lot of thought into it. One of the things that she brought up earlier is that she mentioned that the forgive me if I mangle the pronunciation, the Muisca tribe in South America. And let me do my Googles.
I feel like that was really close.
Why is an S on this week to educate us about this?
I mean, S could hop in at any moment. I mean, we've got a bunch of hop-ins. Hopefully S will see it. But they're the peoples that were there before the Spanish conquest. And one of the things, they were, along with the Aztecs, the Mayans, and the Incas, they were the fourth kind of major group. So the presumption is that while those other groups ended up being overcome by the conquistadors, that this group found some sort of solace in El Dorado. One of the things that I sort of extrapolated is that, in the MCU, what they did with Wakanda is they had Wakanda have the Wakanda as seen by the rest of the world, and then the real Wakanda. I could imagine a situation where there's a version of El Dorado that fits within the way we see that part of the world, but in reality, there's a hidden city, a golden city, that that has the same level of technological advancement and that in limited levels kind of opens themselves up to the rest of the diaspora and does things the way that the Wakanda of the MCU did.
I can also add in that given the tremendous scientific achievements of all of the Mesoamerican cultures and all of the South American indigenous cultures in astronomy and math and conceptualizations of time, I think it's really apt. I think it's really apt. Indigenous people were way ahead of what us colonizers thought. And I would love to have a discussion with all the other indigenous team captains at one point on here about the differing epistemologies and ontologies that those reframings require.
Mm-hmm. Sure. So, I mean, as much as it hurts to lose Black Panther, I'm very curious about sort of seeing how this reframing and how this character would be drawn out in terms of, it's such an important character in the current Marvel universe. And, I want to know if S plans on, on fleshing out even other elements. Now, I just want to clarify for those of you who are out there representing the Black delegation, I clarified very early on that with the rules of how the racial draft works, even though you have a certain amount of ability to kind of create a world around the character that you've created, you don't take away the world that it already exists. So there's room for other Wakandan characters to be drafted by the Black delegation and maintain Wakanda as an element and as an entity. The fact that El Dorado exists doesn't mean that Wakanda doesn't exist, unless the Black delegation chooses not to draft any Wakandans. Hint. There are prominent Wakandans still out there, guys.
Cough, cough.
Some of whom are super smart and have technology. Sorry.
His name may or may not start with an S and end with an I.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. Thank you. But yeah, so yeah, that was the fifth round. The fifth round was super eventful. Anyone want to, like, again, Eli, do you have any additional, like, characters that through the discussion that give you inspiration as far as art, from artistry perspective?
Monica. I want a Jewed up Monica. Just at least with a Magen David. At least with a Magen David around her neck, or at some point.
I mean, that's possible. That's a possibility. I like the biracial, like Captain America and Captain Marvel aspect. That was kind of cool, especially the idea of them hanging out. That would be just a really cool, fun picture to do, probably.
Okay.
Yeah, go for it. I'm here for that.
Also, I liked, again, Native Hulk was awesome, but probably won't touch that. That illustration was very cool. Alex Wilder versus Miles Morales. I don't know. Has Miles been drafted?
He has not been drafted. The white delegation tried. You tried it. You tried.
That would have been a fun one to play with as well.
It, but the polls blocked you. And thank you to those who participate in the democratic process.
We showed up to vote. So
continue to do so. Speaking of that, I guess the time has come. Now, just so you know, guys, Tamati and Sean, you've joined us as friends of, but not official guests. So you don't get nomination privileges.
Good, because I don't ever want to do that again.
Well,
however,
hey, Mike, just before we get into that, I mean, I just wanted to say something about the Amadeus pick as well.
Oh, sure.
You'll notice as well with that pick, he's so far he's one of the youngest. He is the youngest member of the team, and what I'm trying to signal is that how I've built how I'm wanting to build the team is actually I'm trying to build a team, but also a family.
Okay.
And so if you think about it, you've got the adults, you've got the adults in the family, and then you've got the youth. And I'm thinking about succession planning and mentoring.
Got it.
Of the younger characters coming through.
Probably not going to age or die off.
This is true. But for example, I did kind of signal that that Amadeus has been taken under the wing of Adam.
Yeah, of Blue Marvel. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So to kind of grooming him to be the brains and the future strategists of the team. Yeah. And so I'm signaling now that there's going to be a handful of other picks who are going to be younger.
Oh,
yeah.
Hear that, guys?
Wow. I think Tamati has a long game, better than any of us.
Really?
I have to
this
say,
man is playing chess. We're playing checkers.
I've thought about this.
Four-dimensional chess is happening, guys. So
exactly. It's 13th dimensional chess at this point. There's so many moving factors on the field. It's kind of awesome.
So as we often do when we have multiple captains on the pod, we do a back and forth.
Well, I have a quick question before we start that.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any teams that haven't nominated any female characters yet?
I mean, not to call anybody out. I mean, I'll look through the teams. I do believe that there are teams that don't have female characters on them. Let's see.
Isn't Team White all boys?
Oh.
What are you talking about? No.
Sean, defend yourself, Sean.
What? I can't hear you, Sean.
Gonna sit here silently on mute while I prepare
So
he's Googling how to defend myself.
How to defend myself.
If you notice, I've been alternating.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. I noticed. I did notice that.
I mean,
strategy.
that is
Strategy.
the advantages of being
Chess.
exactly.
Can I say something? I thought you guys would be all over me for picking Monica. I thought there would be so much pushback against that. You know, in a of course non-serious way. So I'm really glad that the reception was okay, but I am fearing what y'all are saying privately about me.
No, listen, if you drafted her to not be black, I'm sure it would have been a lot harder. But you know, you represented for the Black Jews, and that was really important.
And that was amazing.
Yeah.
So let's go back to, so Sean doesn't have any women on
I was
his
actually
team.
going to ask you a question. Has anybody else lost a character that has devastated them, such as I have with Amadeus Cho?
That is such a good question, but my
Yeah.
question was first.
But that wasn't a character that you lost. That was a character that you just didn't successfully team whitewash.
Yeah, but I wanted him so badly. Like, Amadeus was like the first character. Actually, I think Mr. Terrific was. But then I was like, no, let's do some Marvel characters. And Amadeus was at the top. But I needed Bruce. I couldn't do the joke without Bruce.
I feel you.
So,
Sean, are you really about Mr. Terrific? Is he one of your top picks?
Wait, guys, don't do that. So wait, the Latinx team doesn't have any female characters, do that?
That's a plot twist.
Woman captain?
Shame.
That is a plot twist.
The
Can I just
shame.
say that I feel like
Shame.
so many of you were really
Shame.
sleeping on the women characters at first. I was really shocked, and I'm striving to remedy that.
Mm-hmm.
I think I have the most female characters on my team, right?
Wait, so the Black delegation has 2. They came right out the gate with 2.
Domino and Dazzler.
Domino
Yeah.
and Dazzler,
2 really strong picks, incredible picks.
Mm-hmm.
you know, so that's 2.
That one hurt because I was going to try and draft Domino.
I understand. And the Jewish delegation has 2 or 3?
We have
3.
we have
Three, I think.
Jean,
Mhm.
She-Hulk,
Mm.
and the engineer, Angie
cool.
Spica, Angela
wow.
Spica.
Yeah.
So that's okay. The Asian delegation has 1.
Mm-hmm.
Polynesian has 2.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry,
we
we
got-
have 4. We have Monica.
Yeah,
Yeah, we've got Storm and Wanda.
Storm and Wander. Multiracial has 3, right?
3, I think. Yeah.
Woman,
Mystique,
Mystique,
Carol.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and Wonder Woman.
right.
Mhm.
The Native American team, though.
Mm.
Mm.
Mm. Interesting.
Shame.
I think that Kia and I should be on with Joaquin one day, and so that we can definitely
think that's
ask
a
him
great
careful
idea.
questions about the
I
gender
think that'd be
balance on his draft.
really
order.
amazing. I'm actually, we should do that next week.
Let's do
I'm
it next
down.
I think that I will try to figure out a way to edit that podcast.
No, I don't think you should. I think you should just let it happen. Let it happen and see how well it goes.
So that's great. That's awesome.
So Sean, why don't you have any females on your team?
Because I've been going after characters who are monumental fuck-ups, and there's not very many of them that aren't white males.
Oh, that was a smooth way to put that. Okay.
Very smooth, very smooth, but
I
that's
see you.
not good enough.
Yeah.
Usually
There's
it's
a lot
that
of-
super villainy.
Get him! Get him, Annie! Get him!
John, there are a lot of Karens out there that need to be drafted.
I mean, if we're being honest though, Carol is like a super Karen. Like when she's not being written well, she's written as Karen.
So
Yeah.
like a Bendis capital.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Bendis Carol is a Karen. I'm glad that she stayed out of the clutches of the white delegation, where she would definitely want to speak to a manager. But
I can't wait to have Annie me and Joaquin on a podcast. This is the most exciting idea ever.
I think we should absolutely do it. And we should have Tamati on too, so that
Yes, that'd be
Tamati can
even better.
hover in the Tamati can quietly shame in the background.
Mm-hmm. That'd be perfect.
I have a question.
Sure.
I'm going to have to get going in about 30 minutes. So I am wondering how it works when we put out our picks to be voted on by the masses at large on Twitter.
So that is a great transition. We should need to dive right in.
Perfect.
You go first. You would throw out your first nomination. I will write down what your nominations are, and we'll put it up for the people to vote on, and they will have just short of a week. Generally speaking, the polls close when the rounds close, and the people, those of you out there in podcast land, will get the opportunity to decide based on these nominations. You'll get to decide which characters you want to see on the respective delegations. So,
okay,
for the Jewish delegation, their first nomination is.
I have 4. My first nomination.
Thor's been chosen.
Hmm?
No, I said I have.
Oh, you said you
I
had
said I had
4.
4 picks.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, we get 4 now. Isn't that right, Mike?
If
that right?
Time permitting, we.
I'm also happy to go down to 3 if it's a time sensitive thing.
Well, again, we'll start it out. We'll start it and see if we have the time. Annie, who would you like to start off with as your first nomination?
This week, for the first time, am going to be playing defensively, and my first draft is going to be Mark Spector, Moon Knight.
Okay.
He has an upcoming major story arc in the Avengers, but I'm going to be significantly tweaking his origin.
Interesting.
And would you like to hear why? Because my 74-year-old aunt came up with it.
Oh well,
Wow.
I mean, your 74-year-old aunt deserves all the time in the world.
Shout out to Aunt Rita. Love you, Aunt Rita. So I have an awesome nerdy aunt. Both my mom and her younger sister, my maternal aunt, were big nerds. And my aunt loves sci-fi, comics, and fantasy. And my mom always loved comics growing up. I was telling her about Moon Knight, and we were discussing the TV series.
Mm-hmm.
And we were discussing the fact that his origin is so, there's so many levels of irony to his origin. A Jewish mercenary in Egypt being chosen as the avatar of an Egyptian god, a primal Egyptian god, an Egyptian deity. And so my aunt reminded me that, I don't know if any of you know this, but there was a Jewish temple discovered at Elephantine, which is a city in Egypt, an ancient city that was at near the mouth of the Nile, near the Nubian Empire. And there was a Jewish community there who worshipped polytheistically.
Interesting.
They practiced Judaism, but there is ample evidence that they also worshipped polytheistically. In other words, there's lots of evidence that they also worshipped Anat, who is another Semitic goddess of sometimes fertility, sometimes warfare. And so I thought to myself, what would it look like if Moon Knight came from an ancient lineage of Egyptian Jews from Elephantine who were mercenaries? They were a military community, and that would tie into Mark's, frankly, his superheroics and his violence. Again, we don't see too many depictions of Jewish characters being superheroes in an industry that was largely created by anti-racist Jews.
Right.
Let's face it, there's just not enough Jewish representation in comics given the outsized effect that Jews have had on the industry.
That's true.
And so I'm keeping Moon Knight, but he's going to be a descendant of the Elephantine Jews, and the pronunciation differs over the millennia, which means that when he is in fact taken and chosen as the avatar of Khonshu, it's not something that's completely foreign to him as he unravels his past. Obviously, you know that Jews are mostly monotheistic, but there were a lot of Semitic peoples running around back then. So there was lots of cross-pollination of cultures and deities. So I'm picking Mark Spector defensively.
Okay.
Nice. Well, I don't have any backstories yet for anybody, but my first pick is Harley Quinn.
No!
Oh,
You just took a Jewish character? Really, girl? Okay.
I'm sorry. Oh, well, you know what?
Well, no,
I'll make her Jewish.
No.
Remember, if you guys pick the same character, a head-to-head happens.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Where there's a special vote where the voters have to decide who gets the right to that character. So in order to win the poll, you have to both win the head-to-head poll and the of the 4 polls. So if you really want Harley Quinn, you can pick Harley Quinn as one of your choices.
Oh, I think it's a great pick for Kia.
Are you sure? You can do it.
Absolutely not. And it doesn't making her multiracial doesn't affect her Judaism in any way. And you can do whatever we can do. We're girls, we're nice to each other, unlike you boys. Take her, do whatever you want with her.
I'll make her a multiracial Jew.
Oh, look
Whatever
at this.
you want.
Look at this
Mazel
compliment
tov.
right there on the podcast. Do you have any thoughts about because remember the Joker is black now. So do you have any thoughts about the potential racial makeup of your?
Not yet, because I've been like looking into certain things, and I really want to make this one really good. I'm doing some research.
Got it.
I will actually have a story this week.
Nice. All right.
Okay,
so
well, I will. I think I might have committed to something crazy.
Yeah.
I just want to put out a cautionary tale out there. All this
Kia, you can
detail you're
message
putting
me and
into these
I'll give you
characters
the
you
down
love.
low.
Wait, hold on a second.
Okay.
Sean, say it again.
Putting all these love into characters that people get to vote on, and then not getting the characters that you put all that love into, it hurts.
It does hurt.
So
It does
temper
hurt.
your heart.
I felt like that was threatening.
So what are your picks?
I think it was how he said it.
I feel some way.
So yes, Annie. So who's your next pick up?
Team Israelites' next pick is going to be Susan Storm Richards.
Ooh.
Yeah,
Ooh.
That actually
absolutely.
makes sense.
And this is going to riff on anti-Semitic tropes a little bit, because the perception of Jews amongst anti-Semites and people who don't know a lot about us is that we're invisible strings controlling the world. So who better to represent that on a meta level than Susan Storm? Also, that means that Franklin and Valeria, with a Jewish mom, unless nobody else drafts them, are also Jewish. And so Reed is now surrounded by angry Jews.
Okay.
I love it. I love
Now,
it.
I was
know what I'm
teasing.
voting.
Of course, I am picking Sue, and I think that given kind of the matriarchal tradition in a lot of Jewish families, where Jewish mothers are the center of the family life in a lot of ways, both stereotypically and not so stereotypically, I wanted to pick Susan. And also, again, because of that meta-analysis of her character controlling invisibility, making things invisible. And also because she's just a stone cold badass. She once almost took out a Celestial by herself. So, and she makes an awesome pick strategically in terms of power sets and exposure.
Mm-hmm.
She complements the rest of my team perfectly.
No, I agree.
And she's going to be holding Reed to task, let me tell you.
We've already got our white Reed, so it's important to have someone keeping Reed under wraps.
And can I say who my fan cast for her would be?
Oh, you've got a fan
Oh
cast.
yeah.
Yeah.
Naomi Watts.
Ooh.
I said it going back
Ooh.
to
That's
the
good.
film from the early 2000s that Naomi Watts would be a perfect Sue Storm because she doesn't have that kind of plasticine face that a lot of Hollywood blogs have. She just has that mom energy. She kind of has that Jewish mom energy about her. I could easily see her being Susan Storm, and she looks the part.
So yeah, make sure, I mean, this is the thing that I've been telling people to do, like, make sure you campaign for your picks. So,
Yeah.
you know,
Oh yeah.
when I put the poll up, make sure you put that fan cast out there and, you know, let the people know that this is who you've envisioned for the character. And
Absolutely. And frankly, the first family needs a Jewish mom. So there we go.
there we go.
Mm.
So Kia, how do you follow that up?
Well, after feeling so threatened, I decided to say Mr. Terrific.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Yeah. You're welcome. You're welcome, Sean.
So, you know, as part of the Black group, did you give any thought to what the racial background of Mr. Terrific would be in the multiracial designation?
Like I said, these are like, because I kind of like was thinking about these people today, and I kind of just made a good list or whatnot. But I really want to dive into there, and I'll have something for you guys on Monday.
Okay.
Well, Sunday, yeah. So I'll have
Fair
something
enough.
for you on Monday as
Fair
to
enough.
what I think everybody should be.
I'm a big fan of Mr. Terrific. I need to go back and read some of the Justice Society stuff where he really kind of, you know, makes his presence felt. But yeah, he's a cool character, and he's got a lot of cool things on the horizon.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, Mr. Terrific. It's you know, another DC. You're going DC heavy this time out, and I respect it.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh.
So Annie, what do you got?
My next pick is also going to be defensive, and that's going to be Ms. Catherine Pride, Kitty Pride. Shadow
Ooh,
Cat.
good one.
Shadow Cat.
For those of you who are not current on Marvel, Kitty Pryde is dead right now, but hopefully she will not be dead for long. You know,
What a great lead
bitter.
She's dead.
I'm still extremely bitter at Josh Whedon for the interplanetary giant bullet phallic thing, but that's a whole other discussion.
Yes, it is. But I mean, it showed that she has the ability to phase through a planet, which, you know, that's a huge flex of her power set.
And there's going to be a tweak to her.
Oh, let's hear it.
She's going to be an Asian Jew.
Oh, I got to make a ruling here. I'm not sure if you have the ability to race bend. I'm not sure if you have the ability to race bend with your Jewish bend. We're gonna have to talk about that. We're in the group. We have to figure
Sure. I will say this, that in terms of modern science, we know that race is a construct. Race doesn't exist. But a Jewish element can be added to literally any ethnic group on Earth.
Sure.
We can look like anything. We can talk like anything. We can be from anywhere because we were forced into diaspora multiple times. And we've literally, I mean, there's one Jew that lives in Greenland. There's a Jew in Greenland. Who knew? So making Kitty an Asian Jew would not take anything away from the Asian delegation, in my view, but of course, let's discuss it and hash it out. So I'll just put that aside and just let's keep Kitty Pryde as she is. How's that?
Okay. I mean, again, you know, it's something that we can hash out. I don't want to distort anything. You know, if people want Kitty to stay in the Jewish delegation, they definitely need to cast their votes for it, and we can talk about the specifics of it when it comes to pass. You know, but you know, I just felt like it was important to throw it out there because I hadn't yet contemplated the idea of both a drafting for the Jewish delegation with a corresponding race band.
I mean, that gets into a larger discussion of who Jews are, and just remember that we exist at this kind of hazy, amorphous nexus of an ancient religion, what was originally a Semitic gene pool, but then also culture, ethnicity, united by a kind of a common theme. So we exist at the nexus in a way that a lot of other groups in the world do not exist. In fact, I can't think of another group like us.
Right.
So literally, we can be any, quote, race. We can be any, quote, ethnicity. And then there's also the fact that people convert. So people convert to Judaism all the time. Not a lot, because we don't proselytize, but it does happen.
That's true. So Kia, who you got next in the quiver?
Franklin Richards.
Franklin's back. Franklin Richards is back.
And one thing I do know, he won't be.
White. Did you say he will not be white?
That is correct.
He will use his reality manipulating ability to eliminate whiteness from his gene pool.
He's gonna be like, my dad was horrible. So yeah, not gonna be white anymore.
Sean, do you have anything to comment about that? As the Reed Richards captain.
First off, I'm gonna go vote for that white Sue Storm. No, we gotta get on top of this shit right now. Apparently,
but Sue Storm is still white.
That's true.
She's a white Jew.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. I gotta go vote so Sue's white, and then we're both white.
Oh, I see. Okay.
The situation, because
look, Franklin Richards has the ability to change reality as we know it. So they just have to accept. Reed and Sue would just have to accept their multiracial child that is still their genetic child, and they'll just have to deal.
Sue welcomes him with open arms. Come home to mommy. I got latkes for you. Come home.
I'm considering the same backstory for a different character.
Okay.
So I like that there's like these characters have the power to literally erase their ethnicity out of them going around.
Oh, that kind of adds a whole new element.
Every character has that ability, Sean. But Franklin Richards definitely does. All right.
He's gonna just like make one of them. He's like, well, give him a new power as well.
So Annie, who's your number 4?
Well, I thought about this for a long time, but I'm going with Zatanna Zatara.
Ooh.
Every team needs a magician.
That is true.
That's right.
All right. Do you have anything more to say about Zatanna?
I have a lot to say about Zatanna. I think that I want to flesh it out more in her backstory.
Okay.
And I just want to put her out there as more of like a cipher pick. But I think that tying into the ancient and perpetual tradition of Jewish mysticism, which is often overlooked. A lot of people don't know that, but you see pop culture fascinating on things like the Kabbalah, etc. There's no shortage of Jewish wizards throughout history. So I want to take Zatanna. She would be perfect.
Okay.
I like it.
And Kia, who is your number 4?
Now, this is really hard because I kind of don't want to put him out there.
Because you know how it goes. Once you put
because there are people among us. So I don't know, I'm kind of torn because I kind of want to not put him out there, but then, you know what, maybe I'll just say somebody else. Yeah, I'm going to say somebody else. Okay. So I'm going to go with Sabretooth.
Oh, whoa! Great pick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I know he'll be, one thing I did decide on for him, he'll be Black and Native American.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, I haven't gone too into it yet. I want to make sure I have everything together, but.
Yeah, I mean, Sabretooth is one of those characters that, when he's around, crazy stuff happens. Obviously, right now he's what is he? What would you say, Sean? He's living in the he's falling forever in whatever Krakoa has going on in their prison world. But I'm sure that in the coming months he'll resurface ready with some gripes and some grudges.
I'm pretty sure Mystique's gonna probably be the one to get him out.
Exactly. You know, and Mystique's on the multiracial team.
Yeah, and she's already on my
She
team.
sure is.
You know, like I see it. I see what's happening here. You know, with the Krakoan revolution.
Yes, building a whole family.
Mm-hmm.
So, listen, if you're the listeners out there in podcast land, these are our picks. You're going to see them on the various social media. You're going to see them on Twitter and Facebook, Instagram. Cast your votes. You have all week to decide for yourself who goes where. You're going to pay attention throughout the week. Other draft picks are going to be made. But yeah. Sean, do you have any? No, actually, Eli. Of the nominations, do you have a favorite?
I thought but multiracial Harley Quinn, that's pretty good. I like that idea.
Okay.
Oh, thank you,
Like
Eli.
something to illustrate. What about from the Jewish delegation? Which one seems the most intriguing from an illustration standpoint?
I'd have to say the Sue Storm because the Sue Storm one, I like how much thought Anne puts into like all of her picks. Like she has like all these different like societal, historical different elements she put into the picks. So the Susan Storm, I thought that was pretty interesting. It would be
Thank
just
you.
wanted to illustrate it, how we could integrate the Jewishness into the design if we had to do that. But I thought that was a pretty cool pick as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
We can definitely talk about that, Eli. I am all for it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I mean, we may as well talk about just kind of generally what we, since you guys are fairly safe now because you put your picks out there, so you can.
Does Sean want to say anything about the picks?
Well,
What about Tamati?
Some of the picks felt directed at Sean. My one thing I want to say is, if you take Mr. Terrific, please name him Curtis.
No! How dare you? How dare you? That is a direct shot. That is a direct shot against me, a Michael. Michael is Michael Holt for all time. Thank you very much, guys.
Also, don't we still have Tamati on the line?
No, Tamati?
No, I think he left us.
Yeah,
He left us.
He left us.
Jurassic Park.
Hopefully he comes back, but he's not here for this. But yeah. So what are you guys looking at in the upcoming 6th round from just kind of from the other picks? What are you kind of imagining you could see happen?
I'm
imagining the white
imagining.
teams. Oh, go ahead, Annie.
Oh, I'm sorry, love. I was just going to say I see a treasure trove of women characters and non-binary characters that the rest of you are so sadly overlooking. And when you see what I have up my sleeve, you're going to regret it. And I bet Kia feels the same way.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, Annie definitely put her money where her mouth is by 3 of her 4 nominees being women.
I love it. I absolutely love it.
I'm actually surprised more people aren't snatching up like the female characters because there's like so many.
It's really only Sean and Joaquin though.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, let's be specific. It's Sean and Joaquin.
Yeah, it's really.
So, like that would be like there's a lot of characters in that exist that I would feel like since it's so early they would be pretty good to snatch up, So I think maybe they should look into doing that.
That's a great idea, Eli. Great idea. What do you think, Sean?
Yeah, what do you think, Sean?
I mean, I looked at my list of people I want to draft.
And none of them
There's
are
a
women?
single woman on it, and the joke is just not one I want to lead with this new phase that I'm doing.
Okay.
So there will not be women in my near future.
All right. Well,
But I love that everybody else is getting out there and getting them. Joaquin, step up, man. You can't be the villain with me.
Yeah, Joaquin.
I love the powerful deflection. That was solid.
Yeah, it was.
Deflection.
You know what? Honestly, I hope Joaquin doesn't. So then, when Annie and I have our conversation, our podcast next week, we can bombard him with questions about why he hasn't picked any.
We can drag him.
Yes.
So Sean, putting on your fantasy comics league cap, for a second, taking off your white delegation captain cap. Are there any characters on the board that you're surprised haven't been snatched up?
Haven't been snatched up. Yes, everybody in the Fantastic Four. That should have been that. If you were playing for points, you lock that down first. The Fantastic Four is pretty vital to most things going on in Marvel right now.
Okay.
Whereas, like, he's an odd choice, but Hulkling is about to be the lead character of an event coming up. He might be an interesting one. And like, I don't know. And I don't know DC well enough, but I imagine if you haven't drafted the Justice League spin-off characters, you probably want to get on that. Like, the Bat Family is just sitting there, guys.
Yeah, I was
sitting there. They get like 6 books each.
That's true.
So is the Marvel family. So are the Hawks. So are the Birds of Prey. There are a whole lot of characters with upcoming prominence that are just out on the table right there.
So I was thinking about that. Like, obviously, we don't have the benefit of you doing kind of your fantasy comic league scoring. I'm curious as to like which of the Green Lanterns is the best pick from a points perspective.
I love tracking stuff like that because they're like, Marvel has so many characters that have the same munker, So I love tracking that because it's constantly like, Ghost Riders are constantly fighting it out, The captains, Captain America, Captain Marvel, they're usually fighting it out for like second place kind of thing.
But specifically about, I was just going to say specifically about Green Lantern, Hal has an ongoing book right now with Grant Morrison, and I'm not sure that book's going to be ending anytime soon. So I can't believe he's still out there.
Yeah. He's a guy out. I mean, a lot of people talk about Hal like a pretty milquetoast character that needs a little bit of oomph to make his character more interesting. So, again, not tipping my hand to any of the different delegations, but maybe you want to put your spin on Hal Jordan.
Yeah, definitely. Or any of the other incredible Green Lanterns. There's Jessica. There's John. There's no shortage.
I kind of feel like with the Green Lanterns, everyone has their favorite one, and that makes it hard to decide like who to draft, because maybe you're just biding your time till you get to draft your favorite Green Lantern.
I have a fave.
I mean,
who's your fave?
Keep us in suspense.
Rotlop Fun.
I'm not familiar with that one.
That's the Green Lantern from that is blind, so he uses a bell. He uses the F-sharp bell.
Wow.
He's famous. Come on, Alan Moore created him.
I admittedly, I'm not immersed in the Green Lantern lore because
understood.
I'm not a big cosmic character guy. I like my characters on Earth for the most part. So I only dip my toe in Green Lantern stuff for that reason. But I have access to DC Universe, so I can kind of go through the older runs and fill in those gaps.
Got it. I'm going to have to sign off here, guys. So I just wanted to say it was such a pleasure. And Tia and I are going to be on next week dragging the boys.
I cannot wait. Woo woo.
And it was so great. And I'll talk to you guys later. Please proceed.
All right.
Thank you again.
Absolutely.
Bye.
Bye.
Later.
So Eli, as from an artist perspective and from a fellow Black person's perspective.
Oh wait, Eli's Black?
Like
I gave it away.
like who would you like to see sort of get pulled into the 6th round?
Who was forgetful in the 6th round? Has anyone taken Batman yet? I forgot.
Oh no, Batman was like a 1st round pick. Yeah, he was.
Oh yeah.
The Asian delegation got Bruce Wayne.
I feel like everyone's very Marvel centric right now, so I think any pick from DC might be pretty good to switch things up. Right now, everyone's focusing on a lot of the Marvel characters. So I think if we threw some DC guys in there, it might be a good upset.
Yeah, I was looking at it earlier today. One character that's kind of like under a lot of people's radars, and Sean, let us know if you think you see this character doing a lot from the scoring perspective, is Shazam.
Why'd you even bring that up? Why'd you bring that up, Mike? Why'd you bring that up, Mike?
I mean, I know that not everybody listens to the podcast, so
Mike, but why'd you bring that up? Mike, go home, Mike.
I mean, you could have put Shazam.
But I chose to put Sabretooth as what? And now Sean, I'm screwed. I'm screwed.
But if you think about characters who could get a lot of points, and it's like about like different things and appearances, maybe like Stargirl would be a good pick for one of the teams because she's got like her show going on. I'm sure popularity will increase. So if you're looking for points, that might be a good character to snatch up.
The only thing is, I'm not sure if Stargirl's currently being like featured in any books. Do you know if she is, Sean?
I do not. What is Shazam in right now?
Well, Shazam has his own book.
Okay, but that's like one issue a month, you know?
True.
And he shares it with
downplay it so you can pick it.
Oh no, I don't have any interest in Shazam. I'm going DC with my next pick. So great idea with urging people to pick DC. I've like 4 hints over the span of this podcast about who I'm going to pick.
Okay. But no. So you feel like
you could just message me and tell me.
Would be good because he can morph and he has a lot of powers. And I mean, he's a flyer, so he's going to fly. Like, I don't know enough about Shazam to know, like, does he team up with his family a lot? Does he lead the team a lot? Is he big for saving civilians? Like,
I mean,
those are things I don't know anything about the character.
I definitely feel like his book is a little bit self-contained. You know, like he doesn't interact with a lot of the other. I think he might have been Justice League Dark for a little bit from the magic perspective, but yeah, he doesn't really interact with the rest of the Justice League, which is unfortunate. He does a little something with Black Adam, obviously, and to the extent that the Shazam family is a thing, he is usually in charge of that. But yeah, I admit I'm not a big reader of the Shazam books, but he's a fave of Jeff Johns, so you know he's not going to go away, and he's got the major power set, so there's a lot of potential scoring just in terms of how he uses his powers. But yeah, I mean, you know, not to belabor everything, I just felt like we need to cover all of our bases. You know, we've been on for a little while. Anyone want to kind of throw out some final words for the people?
Hey man, thanks for having me. Like I think that, you know, last time I was on the podcast, it was a little bit shorter, but this time I think I stayed for the duration, and it was a lot of fun. You guys are amazing. Podcast is fun. Can't wait to do some more illustrations for some of the picks. I'm really looking forward to that. So thank you guys so much for having me.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sean?
I'm going to do my shout out to Eli. Thank you for White Blade, you know?
White Blade is a classic character that will hopefully live on, you know, for years on end.
It was just, I got to thank you, Sean, because that was such like a controversial pick that I just had to do it. Like, people just did not see White Blade coming, and it, you know, I thought it deserved its own illustration. I think it was great.
Anytime I talk about this in real life, I always tell the White Blade story. I'm like, and then they're just like, a lot of times the reaction I get is, huh, so you think this is a good idea, huh? And I was like, yes. So yeah.
And Kia, you get the final word.
This is a great podcast. Everybody should listen to the podcast. And the multiracial team will win.
Nice. So yeah, I mean, again, you know, thank you as listeners. You can find us on all the various podcast platforms. You can find us on Anchor, on Spotify, on Google Podcast, on Apple Podcast. You know, whatever your podcast, your preferred podcast platform is. You can hit us. Everyone's say your socials again, in case people want to say hey. Sean Martineau on Twitter. Eli is Art of Atlas.
Art by Atlas.
Sorry, Art by Atlas.
Yes.
I'm MTFIII. You can also follow Racial Draft Pod. Hit us up. We have a chat group where we talk about the picks. If you're not crazy, we might let you into the chat group and you can, kind of see the draft unfold behind the scenes. Otherwise,
Who's
Martin Sanchez, I think.
yes,
He's on all the posts, and I love him. Is he a captain? He's not a captain. He's not
No,
part
he's
of
not
this.
a captain.
In any way.
He was a fan he was an example of a fan who was accepted into the fold and joined us. So be like Martin Sanchez. Be a big fan. Promote our stuff. Let us know that you're a fan. Hit us up on Twitter and on all the other platforms. And listen, you talk to us, we'll talk back. We stole that from Task. Who you guys will see some Black delegation captains in some upcoming drafts.
You gotta get Toast and Task on like the next week or one of these weeks, because those guys they have opinions.
Don't they? They definitely have opinions. But I mean, I feel like Kia and Annie decided they pre-programmed next week's podcast.
Yeah, and I can't wait for everybody to tune in.
Yeah, tune in. Joaquin being confronted by strong as to why he doesn't have any strong women on his team. That ought to be great for the metrics. So yeah, on that note, that's the great thing to end on. We're still working on the sign off, but until next time, all things are possible.